to see if anybody else showed up, but I think this is going to be it. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's call the meeting to order. I have 6:03 now. Is that okay with everybody that time? All right, 6:03. And I know that we just had some discussion, so it's going to be kind of rough with not everybody here, but go ahead, Carla.
Okay, is Venice, are you the administrator for today?
Yes, I am, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's start our roll call. So Venice, you are present, yes. Rachel? She is absent. Hokinson?
I'm here.
Genevieve? Hey, Genevieve.
Hello.
Mr. Oseguera?
Hello, present.
Hello, I am here. And John Kearney?
Present.
Okay, Jennifer Grobe, I always say her name wrong, I always, but not here. Jennifer Hamilton. Okay. And oops. And Brett McIntosh.
Here.
Hi, Brett. And Delfino Murillo.
I am here.
All right, the one and only. 7.
Ms. Sanchez,
Yes.
I believe that Rachel just logged on.
Okay, great. Rachel, are you here? Can you hear me?
Sorry, I'm having some issues with my computer. I'm using my husband's
okay.
and I'm here.
Okay, yay. Okay, let me change this. Okay, and do we have any guests present today?
Hi, my name's Adriana Cepeda. My daughter is going to be starting on Monday, and I just got this notice, so just kind of wanted to see what it was about.
Awesome, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And so excited to have your daughter at our school. So yay, thank you for coming to Reach. Okay, and do we have any other guests joining us?
Jennifer Hamilton is logging in right now. So
okay, great. I will mark her as present. Awesome. Okay. It's like it's, there we go. Okay, so I think we are set.
I think it looks like there's a Steve Norris on as well.
Oh, that's Rachel's.
Yeah, that's me. Sorry.
Understood.
I'm here.
we got you, Miss Hamilton.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Carla, can you scroll up just a little bit?
I'm handling the screen share, Mr. Maria. Is this okay?
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Marilyn. Okay, so everybody got a chance to review the agenda. Are there any amendments we want to make? Or are we ready to approve it? If so, can we have somebody motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
I motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you both. And now we take a little vote.
Where is the vote box in for this section, or is that down below?
Or is it verbal? Like, how is it done?
It's typically the vote box is there. For
Should
everything.
I copy and paste it?
Yeah, please, if you don't mind.
Okay, just give me a second. And we'll do that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we had Miss Hokinson motion, and I believe it was John Kearney who seconded. So now we'll
Yes.
vote. Denise,
I'm sorry, I'm multitasking here. Can you just brief me on where we're at?
yeah, we're just approving the agenda today. So either an
Absolutely.
aye. Okay, great. Thank you. Rachel? Yeah. Let me see if she's still. Rachel, are you there?
Maybe she,
Can you hear me?
Oh, I hear you now. Yes. Did you say aye? I think you did.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay,
I'm
Genevieve,
an I.
Alvin,
Sorry, aye.
thank you. Aye. And John?
Aye.
Okay, and then I don't think Jennifer Groff came. Okay, and Jennifer Hamilton?
I.
Okay. And Brett?
I.
Great, and Delphino?
Aye, please.
Okay. All right, so it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so what do we say? It carries? Yes.
Yes, the motion carries.
Okay, great. So there we go. Motion carries.
Thank you, Carla. Okay, sorry. Now we're gonna work on, oh yeah, invitation for the public to address us. So just because Adriana is the only guest in here today, just want to give her a quick brief review of what we are and why we meet. And then if she has any concerns, she can address it that way. We're a council that's made up of employees and parents. We're the school site council, and so we can advise and recommend things to the actual school board, but ultimately they will make decisions. But here we make decisions that we want to carry and bring up to them. Also things that we want to support staff with, we would do here. We also oversee the other subcommittees like the ELAC committee, which is for English language learning advisory committee. And another committee that we have at REACH is the APAC committee, which is the African American Parent Advisory Committee. And so we don't supervise them per se, but they're really subcommittees of the school site council. And so a lot of us try to get involved in those other committees and bring back and share what we've learned at those subcommittees. And then we use that to inform decisions and whatnot. And so we are currently made up of 5 parents, I believe 2 teachers, an administrator, and for REACH, our administrators rotate. And then we have a classified employee, so somebody who's not a certificated employee. And this year, we're actually up for, every parent position is up for re-elections. And we're going to talk about that today. But we just started the council about 2 years ago that we were able to get it off the ground. 3 teachers. Thank you, Genevieve. And so we always welcome parent input in any way, shape, or form. And if you have any comments or questions, this is the time. And yeah. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. But no, I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, sorry. Board discussions. Yes, so this is what we're waiting for, right? The discussions for the upcoming elections. We've been talking about it a lot for the last couple of meetings, and I'm sorry I missed the last one. I appreciate you guys waiting to talk about it now. Just a little bit of background, and please, if any of you remember better than I do what we've already discussed, feel free to jump in here. But everybody's up for reelection this year because when we started this, we said it was a 2-year term. So at least all the parent positions are up for reelection this year. And then we decided we're going to stagger them. Is that correct? Or did we decide that we're going to have different terms?
I think what we decided is that we're gonna stagger some. And then I thought we said that we're specifically staggering the officer positions so that most years there would be 1 or 2 officers up and not 3. Obviously, all 3 have to be up this year, but then thereafter.
Yeah. And the reason that we're doing that is so that we're not all just completely replacing the entire board, but that we can build on each other's work. Any thoughts so far from any of the other members?
Did you need me to open up the bylaws? I know, what was it? 2
Yes, please. I was
ago?
looking for them right now, but I have a tiny laptop today, so
So
if we could share it, that would be great.
we're not gonna have the agenda up, but at least I believe we were making corrections on the document that last time. So if we go over to, right
Here
here.
we go. Perfect. So the chair position will be a parent member who will be elected to serve a 3-year term. Okay. So whoever gets elected this year, their 3-year term would begin the 2022-2023 school year. The vice chair shall be a parent member who will be elected to serve a 2-year term. And we do realize we did the math in that at some point, they're both going to be up for re-election at the same time. And we decided that's okay. Or we can also, and I don't know if we wrote it into the bylaws, but we were also thinking it would be okay to say, hey, we're going to have we're going to hold one of those positions this year, and we can have a special circumstance election the following year to re-elect that position. Venice, do you have anything to say?
I was just thinking about your comment in regards to them both possibly having to be reelected at the same time. And I was thinking, is there a period of time for all of the positions where there's like a shadowing that goes on? And so like the new person coming in is being brought up to speed.
Yes. So I don't know if we wrote it into the bylaws, and we'll double check in a second, but we were thinking something like a 6-month period to a 1-year period where I wouldn't be, let's say I get reelected, I wouldn't be the acting chair, I wouldn't make any decisions, but I could advise on proceedings, not on what should happen, but in this situation, this is how you would handle it, and you would do this and that. I remind them that, hey, you got to make sure that you check with Marilyn by this date. Although Marilyn's good about reminding me, but about checking by this date for agenda postings and things like that. So yeah, we decided, and I don't know if we've written it into the bylaws. As we read further down, hopefully it's in there, but if not, we can always add it.
I think sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think if that in fact is happening, which is an amazing plan, I don't see any reason why they couldn't be reelected at the same period of time. Because there's going to be enough time to prep and train them before they take up the lead.
That's true also. Yeah, that's a good point.
But we did want to make sure, just for the stability of the group, that that most of the time, like again, we're going to have some times where it's not going to be the case, but that most of the time, one of the 3 officer positions, they aren't new. So it makes it a little bit easier to carry forward from year to year any business that hasn't been completed, anything that's carrying forward. I think it just makes a lot of sense to keep those as the 3 and 2-year terms. And then, as a group, when it is a time where all 3 of them are up for election the same year, we put it in there that a special election can be held or postponed. So we, as a group, we could decide, hey, we're not comfortable with all 3. Let's go ahead and have one of them wait a year, or we're fine with it. And because we're going to have that shadowing period. So that's a group decision that could happen when that comes up.
Thank you. I think that's why we didn't write it in the bylaws, because then we're kind of set to that. And I don't think we want to be set to that just yet. John, did you have a comment or a question?
No, I I think I was out when this was all decided, so, but I think that in the bylaws, there definitely should be a transitional time frame from one to the other if there's a different election, but I think it should be in the bylaws that not necessarily like an exact time frame, but just a note of transition.
Mhm. Okay. Um, okay, I agree with you. Let's see. Let me read the next 2 points and then we'll see. The school site council secretary will be a REACH employee who will be elected to serve a 3-year term. So our officers are consistent of 2 parent members and then an employee. And then the remaining positions will serve a 2-year term on alternating years. If deemed necessary by the board to offset elections to maintain board integrity, a special election can be held or postponed. So there you go. There's the language to do that. So like this year, everybody's up for re-election, right? And so that means that the other positions will all be starting their 2-year term at the same time. So after those 2 years, we can decide, okay, let's hold off 3 of these positions from re-electing this term, and then we'll offset it that way. But yeah, I agree. Can we write something on there? Maybe between the 3rd and 4th paragraph where we talk about in the case of I don't know exactly how to word it, but let's say in the case of election of new officers, we will allow a transitional period for shadowing.
Could we say it's a 3 meeting? One was because, like there's like, for example, there's a summertime where we don't have any meetings. So if that, we get the person gets elected and they start, I think the elections are held at the end of the school year. So we don't
Yeah.
want to give it like a specific time frame, but maybe we could say like a three meeting transitional period where the officer that's outgoing helps support the incoming officer.
I think by leaving it this way, we leave it vague enough to make that decision later and not kind of tie ourselves into a corner here.
Okay.
But if we want to specifically put 3, so it usually says we'll allow a transitional period. So there's no beginning or end date to that. Just I think we play by ear. Some positions might be more intense than others.
And you could say a transitional period, and length of time based off of responsibilities and or like you could word it in a way that gives you the flexibility to know that you have to have somebody shadow, but at the same time, one could be longer than another depending on the capacity.
Mm-hmm.
You can also say the 3-term meeting, or
And in the
unless
case
it's
of
deemed necessary for a longer transitional period by the new incoming officer.
Yeah, because the previous officer could say, oh no, this person needs more time. I haven't been able to transfer all of this to this person yet. And maybe rely heavily on the person who was originally holding that position.
Does anybody want to put all that into a concise thought for Ms. Sanchez? Or is this Marilyn? Are you typing right now?
Yeah,
Okay, for Marilyn.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks, Marilyn. I'm
Could we
adding
say
notes on the other thing.
of 3 or more meetings as deemed necessary by the as deemed mutually necessary by the incoming and outgoing officers? Because really, we're only talking about for officers, right?
I think so.
There's not really a need for a normal.
Or deemed necessary for a successful transition, right? So the person can say, we're not ready to turn that position over yet, but we're working on it. As soon as we are, we'll let everyone know, because it could be longer for some and not for others.
Mhm.
Okay. So 3 or more. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I don't think you should limit it to position either, because some people might be better at learning everything really quickly, and some might be better at teaching everything really quickly. So you could have a wide variation.
Right. So deemed it's going to obviously help for a successful transition, but it's going to be reliant on the person who's currently or previously holding that space.
But should it be deemed necessary for a successful transition by both incoming and outgoing officer?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be a collaboration, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if we need to have like an actual amount of 3 or more meetings, just because I think it just depends on the position and how they're comfortable. So maybe it's more of that wording of until it's decided, I don't know, somehow, but even like thinking about it with the amount of meetings we have, like 3 meetings would be partway through the school year that you're already like, you're participating, even though you're no longer in that position or going out. That's a lot of meetings for that person who's no longer elected or in position to have to sit in, right? So
Could you say of time?
yeah, like whatever is where the incoming and outcoming is comfortable, or enough information has been given out that the
I
person
think
feels successful or something.
I
Yeah,
think I'm sorry, go ahead, Venice.
I was just saying, you could just simply say deemed necessary for appropriate transition. I mean, and that leaves it open-ended for the board and the people in those positions to make that call based off an individualized basis.
I like that wording. Very good.
But shouldn't you put who gets to decide that?
Probably.
I mean, are you wanting it to be a collaborative effort or just the person who's leaving the position?
I think it's collaborative efforts probably a really good idea that both parties are comfortable with the way things are going to go from that point on. But I think there should be people that are ultimately responsible for that decision.
Okay.
I would think the incoming person would be the one responsible. I mean, not that I think Delfino's going to do this, but what if Delfino's like, I really want to hold on to, I mean, the power of the, the school site council, and just is wants to keep coming and coming, and the new president's like, hey, I'm ready, I'm good, I want to do it my way, I'm still going to follow the bylaws, whatever. Maybe it's the new person that says, hey, I'm ready to cut my losses.
But at the same time, what if Delfino, if you're going out, realizes that not everything has been passed along and needs to stay in, the other person decides? I mean, we could do something along the lines of by both incoming and outgoing, or by whatever simple majority of council.
Yeah, I was thinking as well, like you could, each person could explain kind of their position. Like, I think she's got it, or, blah, blah, blah. Or, you know what, I don't feel comfortable yet, I still need his help. And then everybody's like, okay, well then go ahead and take the extra time. How much time do you think you might need? So it's more of a collaborative effort from all the members to make the decision together based off dialogue.
And would that be only if they disagree? So like if Delfino and the new person they're in disagreement, then the council as a whole will say, would be the mediator, I guess, and make the decision. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm thinking that this is an open forum. And so it's obviously the strength on this forum is based off communication and collaboration. So that strength comes from dialogue. And so opening up like, hey, so where are you? And do you think you've got a good, grasp on the situation? Oh yeah, no, I've totally got it. And then blah, 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 he's in agreement. Or, you know what, I haven't been able to share all this with you yet. I think we need a little bit more time. Oh, okay, right. So then everybody's dialoguing and having an understanding of who's leaving, where the person coming in is feeling and how they're feeling. And I think that open, self-advocacy is important. And so opening the floor and sharing that information with the members of the board is important. So it wouldn't be laying on one particular person, but more as a collaborative effort.
I guess my question would be like, in a year where there's 2 or 3 new incoming officers, that could just take up a lot of time of the council. Like we have a very limited number of meetings. So I'm wondering if it could be like, hey, as the secretary, I'm like, hey, or, Carla's like, hey, the new person's good. I don't need to come to the next meeting. I think she's good. He thinks he's good too. So maybe she communicates to the council, or to Marilyn or whoever that, hey, like we've finished the transition. And then, but if the incoming person is in disagreement or Carla's in disagreement, then that's at that point could be brought to the council. Does that make sense? Versus having, like, Carla doesn't need to show up if she's not part of the council or, you know, anymore, like, you know, however many years from now when she's not the secretary, she doesn't have to show up to come and say, hey, I'm done, but just the new person, or she can communicate that somehow to the council or to, does that make any sense? I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I have a tendency to lean more towards either verbal acknowledgement or written acknowledgement. So if she felt like she was completely done and she made arrangements with the new person coming in and they felt comfortable with it as well, if she submitted something to the board saying that we were both in agreement, blah, 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 I think that would be sufficient.
I think also, well, why don't we phrase it like this? In the case of the election of new officers, we will allow for a collaborative transitional period as deemed necessary for an appropriate transition. Because if it's not, right now, there's not really a lot to hand off other than these bylaws and a few recommendations that we mostly have been getting reports, not really making decisions on you know, supplemental materials or anything like that. So there's not really anything to hand off. But with time, that might change, and we might be in the middle of a project, right? So I think we still, right, for now, we leave it open-ended. And if the board, you know, has a new person, let's say I was the new president, right? And I'm like, hey, you know, I know we were in the middle of selecting a vendor for this certain project, but I don't have any of the quotes. Does anybody have that? More than likely, somebody at the school site will have those, but let's say nobody has that. Then we can get admin involved to reach out to the previous president, and they would be able to mediate that way. We don't know in the future if things might turn toxic. I hope they never do. But we don't know, you know, in the future, it might be difficult. And so it might be something that the board would have this, not the board, but administration. So Dr. Renty or, you know, somebody else might have to step in and reach out to the previous president and say, hey, do you happen to have these documents? You know, we are in the middle of this thing. It would really help us. So I think we leave it open-ended as is so that we don't tie ourselves into a corner, and also so that we don't make more work for us than is necessary at the time. So right now it's not necessary, but in the future it might be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Okay. And then the very last sentence says, at the first regular meeting of the school site council, sorry, each member's current term of office shall be recorded in the minutes of the meeting. I don't know, did we do that when we first started? The first regular meeting, each member's current term of office shall be recorded. So we'll say like today's first day, it ends in 2 years. Is that what that means? I'm looking at that first black sentence on our screen right now.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think we did that. Like actually writing in the notes that, hey, you're here.
So-and-so is elected
I'm
today.
not sure, but yeah, I don't think that was ever.
Although we
listed.
might have, because I remember
True.
getting put back into the waiting room at that
Oh, yeah.
school site council
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
While you guys voted and then being brought back in. So we might have.
But we wouldn't have done it while you were gone. We just voted while you were gone.
Yeah, but I'm saying that I remember that. I don't remember taking the minutes, but there must be some kind of record that we did that.
That was when we voted for president, vice president, secretary. So we put all those people running for that position into the waiting room while we did the vote, and then brought you back in and said, okay, congratulations, you know, to the winner.
So there must be some record of it in some of the minutes. We just probably don't remember. Okay. I mean, I think that's a good thing to have, right? Just so we have it in writing and there's no dispute about when you started and when your term is over. But obviously we're going to have elections. But yeah, as we start to scaffold them, it'll become more complicated, and it's just best to always keep a record of it. Okay, so that's really the meat of our discussion today, was on those terms of office. Is everybody okay with what's been written now? We can always amend it in the future, but as of right now, are there any other comments anybody wants to have, any changes people want to make? Anything else they want to suggest? Or does it look okay? If anything's problematic, let's flag it down and discuss it or postpone this. We're not voting on them right now, but we are amending our bylaws, and so that's probably going to be an action item for next month.
I like it. I think it looks great.
Yeah, it looks good, I think. Mhm.
Thank you. Anybody else? John, do you have any other concerns?
No, I will abstain for now. I think when the voting comes up, I'm sure there'll be other things we could think of, but we're good.
Okay. And then Genevieve, anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Alvin, I don't know if you're available or not.
Yeah, I think everything looks good from what I can tell.
Okay. Rachel?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
It looks good to me.
Okay. And Jennifer?
It was a lot of information. I think I'm just gonna wait till like the meeting minutes come out and read it over
Okay.
and then bring it up next time. So if there's any
Okay.
concerns, but it sounds pretty straightforward.
Okay. And then, and just for your information, Jennifer, this is continuing the conversation that we had 2 meetings ago. And I think that's when we wrote most of this. And I remember you being at that meeting, but last meeting we were supposed to talk about this, but I was out, so.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Marilyn, do you mind resending out a link of the bylaws to us?
Yeah, I can resend it. I did have a
Awesome.
question though.
Yes, ma'am.
So when the elections come up again, everybody's up for election. I mean, it's up to you guys if you want to get reelected again. So then everybody would start with their 2-year terms. Once everybody gets together for a meeting where we decide, hey, who wants to run for these officer positions? So that's when the terms would change. So let's say I'm going in and it's only a 2-year, but then I'm like, oh, I want to go up for chair. I do, and then let's say I am selected in one of those meetings, then I no longer have a 2-year term, I'd have that 3-year term, right?
No, actually, we voted, I believe, if maybe I'm incorrect, I thought that we actually voted for the office of president before, like, not, the council didn't. Wasn't it done by everybody? Like, they had to submit, and then everybody as a parent, like I got the link as a parent, right? You clicked on it. Delphina, do you remember? Didn't you have to submit it and then you ran for that position, or no?
I think I did. Go ahead, John.
There was a form that you had to fill out and basically give a synopsis of who you were, that they originally did, and then there was a vote that was cast, and then yeah. So I do remember having to fill all that out.
Yeah,
And
we
I
filled
think
it out and we got voted into the council, but I believe within the council we voted for the positions.
Yes.
I thought that we voted for them as like the parents voted for the officers. No?
No.
So what happened was that initially we reached out and we're just like, hey, we just need 5 parents who's interested. Once we had all of you guys on board, that's when amongst you guys, you voted for these officer positions. So I just wanted to understand. So going forward, let's say all parents are up for election 5 years, or 5 individuals, they get voted in, they get a 2-year term. Well, once they get together and let's say we vote for officer positions, then your term would change, correct?
Yes. Yes, correct.
Okay.
So I'm going to get reelected, let's say I'm hoping for 2 years. And if I get reelected to the position of chair, then it'll be 3 years instead of just those 2. And then
one is 2 years, but if you get reelected, you choose to remain a part of the team, then it's a 3-year term. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I think I would say that one more time so I can confirm that you.
So when you first come in, like this is all of yours first year, then when you go to be reelected, you can say, I would like to be reelected, or I want to stay the position, like a stay put order type of thing. You would be reelected. And if you were reelected, you got a 3-year term instead of a 2. Yes,
correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So by the end of this school year, we will all have served a 2-year term already.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting near the end of our second year. And so if we get reelected, and let's say I get reelected to this position, then I would add another 3 years. So for
Fantastic.
5 years total. And then, yeah. And then I'm sure when the next election round comes up, we're going to choose to scaffold some of those positions so that it's not all happening at the same time. But
Yeah, the only reason we're not doing that is because we hadn't put that in our bylaws when we first started, so we aren't able to do it now. We have to wait for the next election, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we thought about having some people volunteer to rerun this year, and then having some positions stay to scaffold it. But we're like, it'd be fair just to start with a clean slate now that the bylaws are written.
I also had another question. I know we initially sought out the parents. We allowed pretty much your peers to vote for you. This time around, is the intention to do that again, or I know the governing board, what they do is they send out like an advertisement, these are the open positions, and then we get the information and put that on our agenda. So technically, let's say 3 people are interested for a parent position on the governing board, then we would have 3 separate action items on there to vote them in. I just want to understand the process going forward. So once I start advertising, I can be clear with parents on how the vote is going to happen.
So with the school board, they vote in the other members?
Yes, so basically we do like a call on Dojo, say, hey, we have 3 parent positions open, who's interested? Then they give us their name, their information, and during a board meeting, we go over their information. They have an interview with them just to see why they're interested in the position. And then each individual has their own action item in which the current board decides who they want to place in that spot. So I want to understand going forward, is that how you plan to have elections during a meeting? Or do you want to have the rest of your parent peers select those individuals?
Well, I'm going to speak my opinion, and then I would like other members to speak theirs. But I am opposed to that to us voting in other members. As a school site council, we are a representation of the parents. And I think it'll be a little bit problematic if we're voting in other members. I think it's going to get very political very fast. So I would rather have all the parents involved and vote, and we tally it up. Other people, if you guys want to speak up.
I agree with that. I think that
I also agree.
Open to the whole school to vote.
I agree with that as well. I think it would make it very challenging to have us be the ones that are voting in, especially because for whatever reason, the school, the other parents or whatever were unhappy with something we were doing, they would not have any ability to come in and say like, hey, I want to come in and do this, because the council could just decide to keep their same people all the time. I don't know, it just could become very problematic.
Yeah, and if we could, when we start advertising it, and that's kind of why I want to vote, so we can start advertising it. Invite those people who are interested to attend meetings to kind of see what this is about, see if it's really something they want, see if they're happy with what we do here. Are we wasting an hour of our time, and of their resources, or are they happy with what we're doing? So I wish we had more parents here, but yeah, I want to start advertising that as soon as possible. So I do definitely want to make this an action item for next month so we can vote on it and then start advertising.
Quick question, are we going to be allowed to stay on Zoom?
I don't know. I can't answer that one. That would be something I can email Dr. Renti and hopefully she can let us know, but I don't know if we're allowed to stay on Zoom, or I know that it's kind of, some parents want it and some parents don't. Some parents, I would always like to keep a Zoom option so that we can have kind of a hybrid meeting, because I know that some of our parents like to go in person and others are working in far cities and they need to Zoom in order to participate. But I don't know where the school wants to go with this.
I think that once COVID and all of the pandemic settles down and there is no longer a safety concern, if you want to hold it on the campus in the NPR and then broadcast it as well, you're welcome to do that.
You're telling me this thing is going to end someday?
That's
I
my
don't-
prayer.
It'll be an annual shot.
All right. Okay, is there anything else on this that we want to discuss at the moment? Are we ready to move on to something else? Okay, Marilyn, do you mind switching back to the agenda? You're already doing it. Sorry, I'm good at telling people to do stuff they're already doing.
Are we voting next week, or next meeting to approve this? And that way we can move forward with elections, or how does that work?
Yeah, because we didn't list it in the agenda as an action item. All right. So did everybody get a chance to review the past minutes? I did. A lot of interesting information from Mr. Finley. So it was a good presentation. Thank you for the notes, Carla, because I know that can be difficult to keep up with. Does anybody have any amendments they want? I really don't have a say since I wasn't there, but does anybody have any amendments or anything they want to change? Okay, so then can we have a motion to approve the last minutes, please?
I motion to approve.
All right. Thank you.
Wait, sorry, who motioned and who seconded?
I believe Jennifer Hamilton
Yeah,
motioned to
Hamilton.
approve,
Okay,
Brett
thank you.
second.
and Brett McIntosh, yeah. Second.
Great, thanks, everyone.
Sorry, John, you got bumped.
Okay. All right, well, so let's take our vote. Sorry, let me write Venice's name. Venice Angel,
Hi.
thank you. And Rachel Staylor.
Aye.
Genevieve Hokinson,
Aye.
Alvin Oseguera,
Aye.
and I, John Kearney.
Aye.
Absent here. And Jennifer Hamilton,
Aye.
Brett McIntosh,
Aye.
and Delfino Murillo.
Aye.
Okay, so that is 9 ayes and 1 absent, so the motion carries.
Okay, sorry, I was waiting for somebody else. Okay, so are there any board comments, anything else you guys would like to address right now?
I kind of have a weird comment, but maybe not. I am wondering, is there a way that we can put like an action item or something to discuss? Because I know we've discussed a lot about upcoming elections and re-elections and positions and things like that. And then like parents who may have concerns about what we're doing. But I feel like in this past term, we've pretty much just put in the bylaws and made a logo and things like that. So is there a way that we can kind of forecast what a upcoming term would look like? Like what would it entail? Like what we would be doing as a committee in upcoming terms, because now that the bylaws are almost finalized and we have a logo and things like that, what are like upcoming actions for the committee, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can even have a discussion item where sorry, I'll wait for Ms. Carla to catch up here.
I'm ready.
Okay, sorry. I agree. I think we should maybe have a discussion item to set some goals for ourselves as a board, and then maybe talk about how we plan to implement those goals or how we plan to achieve those goals. The reason that I asked for so many reports this year, and that was me, that wasn't, Mr. Finley didn't volunteer to be here once a month and give us all that data. that was me asking for that stuff so that we can kind of get informed on how we're doing as a school, especially compared to last year. And then what we can think of to improve achievement. I mean, there's always room to improve. And so I was kind of trying to build that up in the background. And unfortunately, this year we had to spend a lot of time kind of building this thing right from the ground up the last 2 years. And now that it's there, I hope all of us get reelected so that we can continue to move forward from here. But at least we've built something, and then if it's not us, the next group can take off running with it. But I agree, Ms. Hamilton, that we really need to plan some stuff out and have a goal in mind, and kind of make sure that we're staying on track for that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Maybe something for next meeting though, but maybe setting a time period as first meeting of school year, as these are primary goals for school year.
And please keep that in mind, John, so that maybe I'm hoping next month we'll have this discussion, but we can kind of flesh that out as to kind of what we want to hit on that first meeting. And because I'm sure I'll forget, so please keep it in mind so you can bring it back up for us, but that's good.
At one of our previous meetings, someone had mentioned brainstorming ideas to increase parent engagement, or how we could, increase parent engagement as far as, maybe getting feedback from the teachers. I can't remember what else was said regarding that.
Well, I had talked about that, I think at 2 meetings ago, and had talked about like really understanding from the teachers what they think their students need. And so we had talked about maybe doing a survey or having them come and just share with us, kind of like an open circle type thing. But really what the needs that they see. And then I think we talked about connecting to the house a little bit, to the home a little bit better. And so we would need input from both the teachers, but also from the families. So I think is that what you were alluding to?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I know like I go to the ELAC meetings and sometimes it's just me, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on her name right now, but the teacher who does it.
Mrs. Dumeyer.
And, yeah, Miss Dumeyer. And so sometimes it's just her and I, or the teacher who did it last year before Amy did. And so it's just them two and myself, and they're like, well, you've already heard this report.
I mean, part of it is the timing. I know I would have loved to attend those meetings. They're often I feel like they're often in the middle of the day or in the early afternoon.
Yeah, they're like at 3:30.
Yeah, and I'm still we're still working until 4, so it's kind of impossible for me to do a meeting like that. Because it is something I would say I'm not, and well, not obviously, but I don't have EL students, but both as a teacher and as a parent, I would be interested in attending those meetings and just seeing where we're at and how even as a teacher I could improve. But it's not something I can make because of the time. I would also say that it would be, I attend the APAC meetings as often as I can. And they've had some success this year in reaching out to parents. And, I think you were at that meeting, Delfino, where they were talking about how successful their pizza and book meeting was. So it would be, I think that might be something to think about, is how we could collaborate with the other groups. I don't know if the EL group does that have like elected positions the way with parents the way that ours does, or is it just more of a informative meeting?
It tends to be informative, but I think Ms. Dumeyer doesn't have enough support. It's her. She's the committee. They should have parents, because that's the whole goal, is what do parents need? What do parents want to see? Right. And it's kind of a vicious cycle, because we don't know what parents want because they don't show up, but they don't show up because we don't have what they want, but we don't know what they want because they won't show up.
And I wonder if those parents are running into the same thing that I do, where, because it's in the middle of a work day.
Yeah.
They're not able to.
And she's had online meetings, and she's had later meetings and earlier meetings. And she'll even do 2 meetings. She'll do an early group meeting and an afternoon meeting. but I mean, I can get how it can be a little disheartening, you know, and so
Sure.
both of my kids participated in the APAC book pizza and book night, and that was a lot of fun. But then we didn't hear back after that. One of my sons his partner read the book first, and he hasn't gotten it that I know of for his turn.
Yeah, they
And-
struggled with getting that organized. I had volunteered to make calls and to get some books back, and no one ever reached out to me. So I think there's been some, you know, and it's challenging because these aren't like paid people that are in charge of
parents.
organize. Yeah, and so they've got lives and busy and all of that. But it definitely makes me think, you know, it's unfortunate because maybe we have a missed opportunity there because there were so many people involved, and how could we
Yeah.
get that continued participation? Of course, and it's also really hard with COVID because we can't do a lot of things that in a normal school year we could do to
Yeah.
build community.
But why don't we
Yeah.
like take it as a homework assignment for everyone on this committee to think about ways we could possibly do outreach, not only for ourselves, to parents, but for the other like subcommittees that are within this, and see if
Yeah.
we can come up with some great ideas and brainstorm next week as an action item.
It's possible, I don't know if you've already considered this, but I'm communicating with most of the parents on Dojo throughout the day, and I've sent out surveys in the middle of the day, and all of my parents have responded to them. And so you might want to consider, you know, bridging the gap in that area in regards to communication with the parents, but also possibly for efficiency sake, you know, creating a survey in regards to like your top 5 goals and improvements you'd like to see in the school as
Yeah.
a parent or as a member of the team, and then having that filled out before your next meeting so that your action items are already written in. You're already, you know what you're doing before you get here, and everybody's ready and engaged and ready to provide input in regards to their particular topics and why. And then you guys spend that time organizing and prioritizing, right? You know, first things first, and focusing on what topic should come first, and then how you're going to address it or tackle it as a team.
I do have a comment too. I know when you guys are talking about goals and things like that, one thing is, at least when I'm thinking about like the last color run we had, Jogathon, a goal that everybody can get on board with. I know a lot of you are very eager about middle school. I know today I attended a webinar on UPK, which is Universal Preschool, that's coming down from the state. A lot of that planning involves a lot of parent feedback and collecting information of what their needs are. And from what I can tell, it seems like people that come to reach, either they're missing the age requirement. They're either too young to attend or they're too old. So maybe projects that people can get on board, like, yeah, I have younger kids. I would love to provide feedback and support this project with my parent input in order to, be able to secure funds for these type of, I guess, expansion projects.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Marilyn, do you have, maybe you could help us create, if we're going to do a parent survey especially, maybe creating some of the questions that would help us with, because we don't know necessarily what's all coming down the pike, but you're obviously intimately involved in all of those things. Would that be something that you could help collaborate with us to create some questions that we could just see where parents are at?
Yeah, I can definitely help. I'm not just here to coordinate Zoom, but I'd love to help, get some projects and get more people involved. I feel like if people knew we were involved in things like, bringing pre-K and, trying to move things forward with middle school, I feel like we can get a lot of feedback and a lot of support.
I mean, I will do whatever is necessary to get middle school for reach. Like, what do you need me to do, Marilyn? I'm on it. So I want it
We've been
before
trying
Eleanor
for
gets
years,
there.
asking Renty, come on, Renty, middle school. I got
Like, Eleanor's in 4th grade. Let's do this.
The clock is ticking, huh?
Yep, we got August. Let's go, middle school. STEM has a waiting list. Who knows how long?
Ooh.
It is definitely something that's in the works. It's something that was definitely a goal and is actually in the work of being produced and with all the powers that be at the moment.
Yes, and I can say part of it of just knowledge is that we do in order to add a middle school, it does have to be in our charter. So as of now, it's not in the charter. So when our charter is up for renewal, then we can add that into the option of being able to have a middle school. So we have to wait for that part.
Isn't this a renewal year for our charter?
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
So
It
that can be a
is.
project. That can be, the school site council could coordinate meetings, having parents write support letters, giving recommendations of things that they can do, like calling representatives, things like that. And I feel like parents would be very receptive to that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think you are correct.
Yeah, and we could organize some events that are outside of an official meeting where we're making decisions, but events where it's more interactive with parents, right? We could do a meet and greet. We can do other things that aren't necessarily, there's an agenda and we're talking about this only. We can decide on those. So let's decide that all of that's going to go into our discussion for next month. So that we don't take too much more time here. I did want to add a comment, and I'm going to apologize, but this one won't be pleasant. It was a little bit difficult for me, for my family specifically, and I talked to a few other families, to get a notification on Saturday that on Monday our kids wouldn't be going to school. I understand that it was preventative. It didn't ease any of the frustration to hear that it was preventative. It didn't ease any of the panic on our part, and then to kind of be left lingering, like, we'll give you more details in the future. It was panicky to me. And then I did make arrangements for week 2, and then on the second day, it's like, nah, never mind, you guys can come back. So it just seems finicky on our part, right? From our perspective, it seems like what is happening at Reach, what discussions are happening, that these decisions are so whimsical and so kind of, last minute, that I really would like to avoid that in the future as a parent. And that's who I'm here representing. So I want to voice it. I support what you guys do. I love the school, but it was difficult. Okay. So there's no other comments. If you think of anything else that we want to add onto the agenda, you can always email Marilyn or myself. We can't discuss it outside of these meetings, but if hey, I want to talk about this, please let me know. Other than that, if there's nothing else, I would like to adjourn the meeting at 7 p.m. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Venice. And we are done, guys. So I want to thank again Adriana, I think I'm saying that right, for coming today.
Yes,
this
thank
is
you.
this is what it's like. So if you would like to get more involved, we'd love to have you. And our next board meeting, Marilyn, do you know when that is?
That will be Thursday, February 10th, same time. So the Thursday before February 10th.
Awesome. All right. Well, good night, everybody, and we'll see you then.